A very good afternoon to one and all. Respected resource person, officiating dean and head of the department, dear faculty members, and all the participants. I, Akarshita, extend a warm welcome to the second session of the fourth day of this ongoing faculty development program on contemporary issues and challenging facets of law. We have with us today the distinguished speaker, Mr. D.D. Sharma, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
He's going to speak on the topic Challenges Before Banks and Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. Mr. D.D. Sharma sir is a postgraduate from University of Delhi. He also obtained MPhil degree from Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. He joined State Bank of Indore as a probationary officer in 1982. And next year, he joined Punjab Sind Bank as a probationary officer, from where he retired as a general manager in 2017. During his service in the bank, he has worked in all areas of banking, in the branch as branch manager, in the zone as zonal manager, and in the head office as general manager. But he specializes in the matters of law and recovery and NPA management. He is also a law graduate and has obtained professional qualifications in banking from Indian Institute of Banking and Finance. He is a qualified insolvency professional, registered as such with Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. We are very much privileged that he's a visiting faculty in SRM University since November 2017 and provides its services as an expert in banking and finance and related laws. I personally wanted to attend your classes but could not. So I am really happy that you have agreed to address one of the sessions of this FDP, sir. Now I humbly request Mr. D.D. Sharma, sir, to kindly address the audience.
Good afternoon, everybody. And thank you very much, Akarshita, for your generous introduction. I am indeed very thankful to Professor Komal Odiche, the officiating dean and head of the School of Law, SRM University, the Dean Academics, and the Honorable Vice Chancellor for giving me this opportunity to speak and participate in this faculty development program. I have been teaching in this university since November 2017, and I have been having healthy discussion with all my colleagues on banking, finance, and all other related issues. But it is first time that I am addressing the faculty, as also the faculty of the other universities who have joined this faculty development program. I consider it to be a very privileged opportunity. Thank you very much, SRM University, for giving me this opportunity. And thank you very much, the participants, for listening to me. Thank you. Honestly, one really cannot teach the teachers. You can possibly learn from them. But yes, you can possibly stir some new thoughts. You can possibly motivate them. And in the process, you also benefit from their experience. So if I could stir some new ideas and motivate the faculty members listening to take up some research on banking, I think my session would be fruitful, because my experience is that research on banking is monopolized by economists, management experts, and latest, the marketing experts and IT experts. Lawyers only provide their services in very specific areas, and they remain always in the background. Dear colleagues, banks are a part of our day-to-day life and are a backbone to our economy. Everybody knows it. Particularly so in a developing economy like India, where capital is scarce and a large number of our entrepreneurs are first generation industrialists or entrepreneurs. So while the bank credit is the driver of economic growth in a developing country, in the process, bank also invites a great risk to it, because that is the nature of banking business. those first generation entrepreneurs, in a sense, experiment at the cost of the bank. So if the banks are healthy, our economy will be healthier and growth rate would be higher. But if it is reverse, it would be just the opposite, and that is exactly what we are witnessing at the moment, when growth rates are very low and there is a great risk to the profitability of the banks. No discussion can replace a long experience. I would share with you my experience in short. I joined Punjab Sind Bank, a public sector bank, in 1983 as a probationary officer. I joined in the industrial rehabilitation department. At that time, 4 departments of the bank were looking after the credit of the bank. There was priority sector department, there was non-priority sector department, there was industrial credit department, and there was also industrial rehabilitation department, which I had joined. And one old officer was looking after the recoveries in the bank. In fact, he was older than most of the officers working in the loans department. Often he was ridiculed by the colleagues because he was always handling the shabby files. And whenever he would be called by the senior executives, he will take a long time to come with his dirty file. Some discussion will take place. He'll go back to his seat. So there is a one-man recovery department in a public sector undertaking. Dear colleagues, during the course of time, recovery department is the largest department of the bank. Not only that, in all the zonal offices, there are recovery departments. Even in the zonal offices, recovery departments are the largest departments of the zonal office. In addition, we have got 7 asset recovery branches, which are full-time engaged only in the recovery of bad loans. At the moment, I will not call them non-performing assets. That may become a little technical. So these are the loans which the borrowers have taken and borrowers are not returning. In addition to that, we have got a battery of lawyers all the time assisting the bank at all levels, just trying to recover our bad loans. I hope I give you a sense that how recovery of the bad loans has become a chronic problem in the banking industry. As I told you, I joined in 83. In 1985, a law came, Sikh Industrial Companies Special Provisions Act 1985, called SICA. Under SICA, an institution was created called BIFR. It was Board for Industrial and Financial Reconstruction. So all the Sikh companies, the manufacturing companies which were defaulting in making repayment of the bank loans, were referred to BIFR. I used to attend hearing on behalf of my bank. You know what is the fate of that law? That law stands repealed. What is the fate of that institution? That institution no more exists. Bad loans continue. I still, as a lawyer, as an insolvency professional, as an ex-banker, share with you there was nothing wrong with the law. There was nothing wrong with that institution. We mismanaged the law. We mismanaged the institution. Somewhere our law or somewhere our institution becomes a victim of the personal greed of the stakeholder. In case of SICA, it was the greed of the promoters of the companies. Their only intention was to extract more finance from the banks, to extract more concessions from the banks, and they were not at all interested to revive their companies. Banks on their part, after some time, got tired. The law said that the bank will be represented by the highest of the authorities in BIFR so that a meaningful discussion can take place and the company can be revived. on-the-spot decision could be taken. Banks started deputing the junior most officers who will attend the hearing and will say, sir, we will take approval and we will revert back to you. I used to call them, this entire machinery, BIFR, as the Gaushala of the companies, where if a company enters, it will never come out early, because the promoter never wanted to come out of it. He had a protection. What was the protection? As long as he was in BIFR, no suit could be filed against him, no coercive action could be taken against him. So he enjoyed a protection which no law gave to him. We bankers were frustrated. We continued to give loans. Our loans continued to become non-performing assets. Then came the reforms of 1991. What was the reform? Till now we were doing a banking which was based on per note, which was based on the accrual system. That means we will debit the interest to the account of the borrower and we will take that interest to the income of the bank. So irrespective of the fact whether that money was being recovered or not, we continued to book income. So it was in fact a very cozy situation for the banks. When the international accounting norms were introduced in the banking industry, a dummy exercise was done in 91-92 and a final exercise was done in 92-93. In the dummy exercise, more than 50% of the loans of the banks were required to be classified as non-performing assets. It was a very alarming situation. Banks being commercial institutions, then it was a reputational loss to them if they declare that 50% of their loans are bad. So banks started hiding their non-performing assets. So from there starts a convention of banks not truly disclosing the correct state of affairs of the non-performing assets of the bank. But please tell me one thing. If you classify something and you say this loan is bad, the money is not being recovered, interest is not being recovered, installment is not being recovered, it will remain a non-performing asset, and now as per international standards, you will not take its income to the interest charge in the account to the income of the bank. So what will happen? My income will go down. Now what is the supporting structure which will help me to recover my loan? In 91 there was nothing. We had only one civil procedure code. You file a recovery suit, hand over the file to the advocate, and you will never know when the money would come back. It in fact never came back. So it is not that the policy makers were not aware of it. They were aware that we have given a classification of the asset to the banks. We have classified their assets into performing and non-performing. We have also classified their assets into substandard, doubtful and loss, depending upon the degree of irrecoverability rather than recoverability. But the question is that how would the banks recover it? So a special law was created and DRTs were created, debt recovery tribunals were created, and debt due to banks and financial institutions, recovery of debt due to banks and financial institutions Act 1993 was passed. Can you believe it? It was a tribunal. It was required to take a decision within 180 days. It was a specific purpose tribunal. All of us know what is a tribunal. It was a civil court in powers, but had a very limited jurisdiction only in the matter of recovery of banks' dues. But the pecuniary jurisdiction of the DRT was so large that all the cases from the High Court were required to be transferred to the DRTs. Do you think such a situation can be happily accepted in India? No. That act was challenged. It took almost 3 years for that act to stabilize. Initially, there was some fear in the borrowers. Initially, there were some recoveries. But soon, the recoveries started dwindling. Nobody started fearing debt recovery tribunals. And today, the situation is that the Honorable Supreme Court has requested the High Courts to take up the cases which are required to be heard by BIFR. So in 25 years, 26 years, we have reached that situation once again. Our NPAs were again continuing to pile up due to reform process. Large projects were being established. We were giving large loans. Banks demanded that, like in the international arena, they should be given powers to take the possession of the assets of the borrower. After much discussion, the government acceded to the request of the bankers, and banks were given Supersede Act 2002. It is securitization and reconstruction of financial assets and enforcement of security interest. In nutshell, this law was that if a bank gives a loan, if the loan goes bad, the bank has got a right to take the possession of the asset, sell off the asset in the market, recover the dues of the bank, and if there is still anything outstanding, bank can file a recovery suit. If it is less than 10 lakh, go to civil court. If it is more than 10 lakh, go to DRT. Now, if you see this law, you will really realize that it's a beautiful law. Banker is getting the power to have possession. Banker is getting power to auction the asset. And even if the amount is residual, after recoveries, bank can file a suit. Initially, this act was very, very effective. Borrowers were very, very frightened of this act. Soon they found a way out to skirt the process of Supersede Act also. And today, this act has become very, very ineffective. I raise another issue before you. If suppose there is a city, in that city there are only 4 borrowers who are defaulters, who have taken loan and who have not repaid. It is easy to sell their houses. It is easy to sell their cars. It is very easy to sell their factories, because in the whole city there are only 4 defaulters. Imagine a reverse scenario. In the city, the majority of the borrowers are defaulters. Who will purchase their cars? No, they don't need so many cars. Who will purchase so many factories? There is no appetite in the market to purchase the assets of the defaulters. Banks are exactly facing the same problem under the Supersede Act. It was a beautiful law. It was a beautiful machinery. But again, somewhere we as a society, we as a nation, we as a system failed, and Supersede Act has become progressively very, very ineffective. It comes 2016. The bad loans of the banking industry are at its peak. Reserve Bank of India has started an asset quality review. Banks are no more allowed to hide the NPAs of the bank, again increased by leaps and bounds. Here comes the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. A beautiful law. So far, all the laws and the mechanisms of recovery provided that the borrower will remain in the possession of the asset which the bank has financed. This was one law that once a case is taken under this law, the borrower will lose the possession of the asset. He will have to go out of the factory. He will have to go out of his business. His business will be handed over to a professional. The professional will call the offers from the people, resourceful persons, to remove the insolvency of the company. That entire process would be guided by the creditors of the company. So it was a creditor-driven process. It was a debtor not in possession process. And a technocrat, a qualified resolution professional we call them, or insolvency professional, was handling the business of the company, and there were strict timelines that within 180 days the insolvency of the company must be resolved. So bankers again became very hopeful that now at least our bad loans would be recovered. what has started happening to IBC is exactly what we did to our BIFR Act, that is SICA, what we did to our DRT, what we did to our Supersede Act. Yes, please. Somebody wants to say something?
Yes, sir, no, your PPT is not moving forward. We're just able to see the title slide only.
Yeah, I have not started presenting PPT.
Okay.
I have not. So we are again at the crossroad that the IBC 2016 is also feared to move in a direction in which all other previous laws of the country were moving. Now, what is the need of the hour? Need of the hour is for everybody to take care, because remember one thing, if bankers are the driver of economic growth and if are potential and they are not able to give credit, definitely there would be no growth. It would affect
So
the
you got this. So you got disconnected for a minute. So could you please repeat it?
Okay.
Just for a minute when you were saying bankers are the driver.
Yes. See, what I'm saying, that it is the duty of all of us stakeholders that we should see to it that IBC process should not suffer the same fate what happened to our SICA, what happened to our DRT Act, and what happened to our Supersede Act, because this is not in the interest of the banks, it is in the interest of the country. Now I will start my presentation. So Aswati, we start a bank with you. Now what is a bank? There is a promoter who brings in capital. Suppose you brought 500 crore. You got a license from Reserve Bank of India to start banking business.
Okay.
As a banker, you have got a right to accept the deposit from the public, and you have to allow withdrawal through check to your customers.
Okay.
Now, what do you do with this money? You will have to pay interest to the depositors. So you deploy this fund, you make investments, and you give loan to the people. Now imagine a scenario on any of these two aspects. If you do not get your income, don't you think it is hurting your capacity to pay interest to your depositors? And if your capacity is hurt to a larger extent, you may be in a position not to pay interest and not even pay even the principal to your depositors. You know what has happened to Punjab Maharashtra Cooperative Bank? 76% of their total deposits and capital, they gave loan to a company which became bankrupt. All the thousands of depositors of the bank were on the road. So bank is a very fragile business, it's a very sensitive business. That is why we never put all eggs in one basket. Even to the biggest borrower, we will not give loan. Even to the best of the company, we will not give a loan beyond our capacity to bear the risk of that loan going bad. We do not make an investment where we perceive a risk beyond a point. But taking risk is our business. I am not a post office. It is not that I accept the capital, I accept the deposits, but I do not make investment and I do not give loan. If I don't give them, I don't have money to pay to the depositors. So in a sense, I am forced to make loans and I am forced to make investment. The only thing that I should do is that I should be sensible to make intelligent investments and intelligent lending, so that I always maintain what we call NIM, that is the net interest margin. You know, my capital is interest free. I will get only a dividend if I get profit. That risk one can take. But to the depositors, I already committed that I will pay this much interest. So I have to earn more than that from my interest and from my lending. Now this is a very, very sensitive business. I hope, Aswati, you can understand that it is not a very lucrative business. It is rather a very risky business and rather a very sensitive business. Now, if we see the balance sheet of any bank, over a period of time, bank grows. Out of the profits, he creates a reserves. On the basis of capital plus reserves, he can make some borrowing from the international institutions or national institutions, but borrowing is always a small. Again, in the funds of in the hands of the bank, the biggest portion is of the deposits. And again, in the assets of the bank, the biggest portion is only from investment and loans. No other asset of the bank earns money except the investments and the loans. If you see the profit loss account of a bank, interest earned from the loans and advances is the biggest component of the income of the bank. In fact, in a simple bank, doing plain vanilla banking, not entering into risky contracts, not earning much income through fee-based business, it is sometimes even 90% of the total income of the bank. And interest expended, that means interest paid to the depositors or the borrowings of the bank, is again the largest component of the expenditure of the bank. So again, a bank cannot afford that a bank will not earn income on its loan. And what I told you, from 1991, when we adopted the prudential accounting norms, we have been put at par with the international accounting system. That means if I do not receive income on my loan account, I will not be able to take it to my income head. So that means it becomes a dead investment for me. It becomes a dead loan for me. Now, what is an NPA? So far, we were using a general terminology called a bad loan. The regulator, which is Reserve Bank of India, has given a very precise definition. This definition is now at par with the international banks, and that is that if you do not get interest within 90 days when it is due, or if you do not get installment within 90 days when it is due, your account will be classified as a non-performing asset. I have already told you, classification is no problem. Problem is that on NPA I will not earn income. So you will not take accrued interest to the income. Double whammy. If anybody, you have got a balance sheet concept, your liability side 1000 crore has become NPA, so you will not get income on 1000 crore. How will you pay to the depositors of 1000 crore? On the other hand, now you have to make a provision for this 1000 crore. That means you have to bring matching contribution, that tomorrow when this loan will be written off from your books, you should have 1000 crore rupees ready to give to those depositors. This is called provision. So this is the concept of accounting of prudential norms. This is provision. An amount debited by the bank to its profit loss account and kept against a bad loan to meet the contingency of the loan losses. What are gross NPAs? GNPAs we call them. What are gross NPAs? It is nothing. It is the sum total of all the accounts which have become bad loans. So whatever is outstanding in my books, sum total of those loans, bad loans, is called gross non-performing assets. What is a net non-performing asset? As I told you, we make provision against the bad loans. So if my 1000 crore rupee loan has gone bad, but I already made a provision of 500 crore against that loan by debiting my profit loss account, that means I am safe of at least up to 500 crore. So now my risk is only 500 crore. So these are called net non-performing assets. That is, gross non-performing assets minus the provisions held by the bank is the net non-performing asset. Now this terminology would be important. I give you a case study now to check that whatever I am talking is making a sense to you. Aswiti, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, there is a public sector bank. Till 2010, it was wholly owned by the government of India.
Okay.
In 2010, the bank came out with major public issue. First public issue, maiden public issue. You know the price of the share? 120 rupees for a 10 rupee share. And the people paid for it. Even to the employees of the bank gave a discount of 3.5%. Employees got the share at 113 rupees per share. What is the value of share? 10 rupees. In how much public got it? 120 rupees. How much staff paid for it? 113 rupees. What is the price of the share today? 16 rupees. And today Russia has invaded Ukraine. It may be even below 15 rupees. I have not seen today's rate. So do you see a problem? This is the challenge of Indian banks. This is the challenge before the banks. Ashwati, what could be the reason why people purchase the share for 120 rupees? This is my question to you. Because bank loans were growing. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 from 9,799 crore to 32,000 crore. Profit of the bank was increasing continuously. Gross profit increased from 267 crore to 877 crore. Net profit increased from 108 crore to 508 crore. This is the presentation of the net profit of the bank. Increasing every year. What are the bad loans? Continuously going down. What about the net non-performing assets? Continuously going down. People were very happy to pay 120 rupees for the share of this bank. This was the bad loan position of this bank from 2006 to 2010. L-shaped graph came down drastically. What is the value of share? From 120 rupees, it has come to 15 rupees. Ashwati, what could be wrong with this bank?
So bad loans.
Bad loans are continuously increasing. See the gross NPAs. Continuously increasing. See the provisions. Provision is the amount of profit which you debit and keep against the bad loans is increasing. Your net NPAs are increasing. It has come down here. This also I want to explain you. It has not come down because of recovery. It has come down because I have made more provision. I told you not net non-NPA and net non-performing asset is gross bad loans minus the provision made by the bank. So it is not due to the recovery that the net NPA has come down, but because I suffered a loss, I booked loss. So I could reduce my non-performing assets. See the profitability of this bank from 17 to 21. See the operating profit. Loss of 687 crore, loss of 1100 crore, loss of 1700 crore, loss of 2200 crore, and loss of 4000 crore in March 21. Are you convinced now why the share value has come down? Bad loans are rising like anything. The profit of the bank is coming down like anything. You might say, अरे सर ये तो आपके बैंक की कहानी है. This is the best bank of the country, IDBI Bank. Where was its share in 2010? 200 rupees. Where is the share of the bank today? 45 rupees. Let us see the profitability of this bank. 12,000 crore loss, 19,000 crore loss, 25,000 crore loss, 13,000 crore loss, slightly stabilizing at 1,500. So I hope you have very well understood what is the effect of bad loans on the profitability of the bank. Why did this happen after 2010? Next question. In 2007-2008, there was a global financial crisis. The whole world was suffering, India was not suffering. Why?
Because of saving habits, sir.
No, madam, Ritika madam. Ritika madam? Who spoke? Rashi madam?
Right. Rashi City Cycle.
Rashi madam, I give you a loan of 50 crore.
जी
You are not able to pay the interest, which is 6 crore. I give you 10 crore. You pay interest to me, but your liability becomes 60. Next year, you are not again able to pay interest of 7 crore.
60 crore.
No, but at the rate of 12%, it would be 7 crore 20 lakh, na? 12 chik 72. I give you a loan of 15 crore more. You pay back the interest, but your liability is further increasing. So what happened? There was a system of multiple financing. When the corporates were failing, in fact, technically they were in default, banks continued to finance them. They paid back the interest, they paid back the installment, but did they actually pay it? They paid me back from my own money.
Sir, your question is ki after 2008 or 9, that is subprime crisis because of Lehman Brothers. In 2010, why India position is in a good shape? Because of our saving habits. I think so.
No. I am talking about the banking crisis at the moment, that why our banks did not suffer in 2007-2008 crisis.
Okay.
Because at that time, we gave liberal financing, rather over financing to our banks. So they could repay back. Technically, they were in a difficulty. Technically, this default should have arisen then and there. But since we gave them finance, it was a system of multiple financing. You will be surprised. A bank did not know how much the company has borrowed from B, C, D, E bank. That is a correct situation. By 2010, the situation was that if somebody needed 1,000 crore, he had borrowed from the banking sector 2,000 crore. All of us in the banking sector knew that there is something drastically wrong, but nobody knew how to fix it. Second, so far banks were not financing infrastructure projects. Infrastructure projects were being financed by developmental financial institutions like IDBI, IFCI, ICI, CI. We make ICICI and IDBI as universal banks. We asked the banks to finance the infrastructure projects. Banks had no experience to finance the road projects, the dam projects, the railway projects, metro projects, the power plants. One power plant, it costs 40,000 crore rupees. Banks happily finance. Today, in the obscure jungles, nobody is trying to buy that land. Nobody is trying to buy that power plant instruments, and the power plant is not functioning. So how much can you recover? So these three factors. Technical default, we gave them over financing under multi-finance. We started financing infrastructure projects. So the risk was ballooning and the balloon was bound to burst. When did it burst? This is the credit growth. You see from 2010 to 2015. Total outstanding credit by scheduled commercial banks from 2010 to 2015. Aswati, what do you apprehend now? If there is a credit growth of this order, what is likely to happen? Bad loans will increase. So as the credit growth was there, exponential credit growth was there, so was the growth of the non-performing assets of the banking industry, which reached 14.6% as on March 18. 8,95,600 crore rupees. This is only public sector banks. Total banking sector loans were very high. Now, if 14.6% of your loans do not earn income, I gave you the basic concepts of the non-performing assets and bad loans. You can understand the strain on the profitability of the banks. What happened as a result? This is the balance sheet of the public sector banks in March 18. See the column of net profit. All banks are in loss except Indian Bank, small profit of 1,200 crore, and Bank of Maharashtra 727 crore. Total loss in 1 year 85,361 crore. So this is the effect of the bad loans on the profitability of the bank. In 2018, when IBC had already come, 1.5 years had taken place. This is the position as on March 18. Public sector banks were having gross NPAs of 8,95,601 crore, and the profit of the bank was negative, that is the loss of 85,361 crores. This is another graphic representation of the same reality. This is the gross non-performing black graph. NPA is rising. Not net non-performing assets also rising. You might feel it is coming down from 18. Yes, figure wise it is coming down. But it is coming down more because of the write-off than because of recovery. This is the chart prepared by Reserve Bank of India. Reduction of gross not performing assets. Write-off during the year, blue ink. Other regions, brown. You see public sector banks. More write-off than recovery in any year except 2015. It has got no value because at that time they had not disclosed all their NPAs. But in every year, write-off is more than the actual recovery. Even the total scheduled commercial banks, same position. Blue bar is greater than the brown bar. That means reduction of gross non-performing assets, that is the bad loans, is more because of the write-offs rather than actual recovery. These are the various mechanisms through which we recover loan. Lok Adalat, DRTs, I talked to you DRTs. Supersede Act, IBC. Lok Adalat, negligible recovery. DRTs, very small amount, again negligible. Supersede Act, okay, some reasonable recovery. But IBC recovery is lower than the Supersede Act also. And this is 2021. Almost 5 years of IBC are gone. Now comes the IBC. I traced you the history of all the laws. Here comes IBC. So when you see this graph, what would be your expectation from IBC? Like a doctor, it will treat my bad loans. Maybe this graph would be reversed. That is a normal expectation of a banker, because the law is very beautiful law on paper. Everything is to be done within 180 days. At the most, one extension of 90 days by the court, that is NCLT. A technocrat will handle the insolvency of the company, that is the affairs of the company. The board of directors is suspended. He will sit outside the factory. More recoveries through write-off. Write-off is not a recovery, please. Write-off is when I bear the loss. मैं राशि जी को 50 करोड़ देता हूं और लिख देता हूं अब ये नहीं आएगा, मैं माफ कर देता हूं. चाहे मैं एक्चुअली में माफ करूं, चाहे मैं टेक्निकली माफ करूं. There are two procedures used by bank: technical write-off and actual write-off. Generally, banks do not actually write off. They retain the legal right to recover the dues, but in books they write off. How do they write off? They adjust the provision against the loan amount. Now see what happens in IBC. Due to simply passing of this law, India's ranking in the World Bank ease of doing business improves by 30 points. The Honorable Prime Minister speaks from the Red Fort that we have improved our ranking by 30 points. Law is passed by the Parliament, not much without much debate. 5th of May, introduced in Lok Sabha, passed the bill in Lok Sabha, 11th May passed in Rajya Sabha. Honorable President gives assent on 28th of May, and it is published in the Gazette on the same day, 28th May 2016. What is the purpose of the law? To resolve the insolvency of the corporates. What are the corporates? Corporate means large companies, limited liability partnerships. But we are very fair to our businessmen also, because entrepreneurs are required to be protected. They take the risk on behalf of the society. They take the risk of doing business on behalf of the nation. So unless they have done some hera-fairy, that means siphoned off the funds, that means indulge into money laundering, we will be fair to them. So we will give them an honorable exit. Who is it? Harsh Goenka. Who is he? Chairman of the RPG Enterprises, one of the biggest industrial houses of the country. What does he say? Promoters stash away money on the side, take the company to the cleaners. Cleaners mean dry cleaners. That is NCLT. Get a 80 to 90% haircut from bankers. Oblique court. That is the new game in town. A lot of institutions cleansed by the government. NCLT next, please. He tagged this tweet to even PMO in India. You can imagine what was happening in NCLT. Somebody in reply to that tweet attached this tweet. Indian banks, loan write-offs by Indian banks, highest 2017, 18, 19, 20. I give you one example. There is a company called Videocon. All of us are familiar with that name because in most houses either a washing machine or a television set or some other electrical appliance was there of the brand Videocon. There were 71,000 crore of the claims on the company. The resolution professional, that is the insolvency professional, admitted 64,000 crore claims. A resolution plan was approved, offered by Vedanta, that is the Anil Agarwal Group company, offering only 2,962 crore against claim admitted 64,000 crore against claimed amount of 71,000 crore. What is the recovery percentage? 4%. What is the haircut? Haircut means concession given by the bank. Haircut means the loss borne by the bank. 96%. This is the result of that period that I talked to you about, 2010, when we were doing over financing, when we were doing multiple financing, when the balloon was becoming big and bigger. This was the risk developing. The real value of the company was only 3,000 crore. It borrowed from the banking sector maybe 1 lakh crore. See, 71,000 crore is the amount of claim. And the resolution professional has admitted only 64,838. But even 64,000 crore, you imagine, it is like the budget of one state. Even the court was reluctant to accept this proposition. Court said, as per the COC, COC is the committee of creditors. They are the people who gave loan to this company, financial creditors. They are the banks and financial institutions. They guide the resolution professional. What he has to do, what he should not do. How to invite offer, which offer to be accepted. They accepted this offer. So even if a matter is resolved, if you are going to get a haircut of 96%, how are you going to bear it? So this is the story of NCLT. When this news was published, there was hue and cry in the whole of the country that ये तो एक लूट मची हुई है. It is not possible. 64,000 crore के अगेंस्ट में केवल 3,000 करोड़ रुपया मिलेगा. Who will pay the balance 61 crore? 1,000 crore, 61,000 crore. The appellate authority, National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, stayed the order of the NCLT. and asked the committee of creditors to reconsider the proposal and rerun the process. That means re-invite the tenders, re-invite the resolution plans. But India is a country run by rule of law. Vedanta has already gone to Supreme Court, and they will hire the best of the advocates, saying that a plan approved by the adjudicating authority, that is NCLT, cannot be set aside by the NCLAT. We make everything a legal issue. Let us see what the Honorable Supreme Court says. Enough background I have given you what are the challenges before banks. I also explained you the challenges of IBC process. Now let us systematically develop our subject. Let us travel together. And again, we go back to the basics and we restart the process. See, we are the 6th largest economy in the world. We oscillate between 6th and 7th. In 2019, we had become even the 5th largest economy. Nobody had anticipated COVID will come. Nobody had anticipated that demonetization will hurt our economy. Nobody had accepted that the bad loan problem will create problems for the country. But now we are either 6th or 7th. It depends which parameter we take. But one fact cannot be denied, that what was in 1947 basically an agricultural economy is today a modern economy. In 47, 50% of income GDP came from agriculture, industry only 17%, services 33%. In 22, 53% is contributed by services, 28% by industry, and only 19% by agriculture. This is the growth of GDP of India. This is the GDP growth of India. This is the credit growth of India. You can see wherever there is a peak of GDP, there is a peak of credit. Where is a bottom of GDP, there is a bottom of credit. So this proves, this is taken from the Reserve Bank of India, that credit is the driver of the growth. It is a chart reflecting our GDP from 50 to 53 to 2005 to 2006. Whenever there is high credit growth, there is a higher GDP growth. This I think I cannot show you, but I just wanted to show you that when the credit was increasing, the non-performing assets were increasing continuously. This is a Reserve Bank of India data, but I think we can see somehow. Anyway, now of course we know what is our financial sector. In that, banking sector is a very prominent part. Approximately 23% of our GDP is contributed by the financial services, and banking is an important part of that. This is the structure of our banking in India, in which the public sector banks play a very important role. We know there was a process of social control in the banking industry in India. 55, SBI was nationalized. 59, 7 princely states were nationalized. Banks, 69, 14 banks were nationalized, and 1986 banks were nationalized. At one time, 91% of Indian banking was controlled by public sector banks. Whether in terms of account or in terms of credit, public sector banks had the largest share. What is the position today of the entire banking industry in India? Total deposits are 160 trillion. Total credit is 115 trillion. What is the position of banks in India? We are oscillating between social banking and commercial banking. We are not a bank like in the developed countries doing only pure banking, that is earning profit for the stakeholders, shareholders. No. We are a bank which is opening loss-making branches in rural areas, hill areas, villages. We are banks which are opening zero balance accounts. We are disbursing directed credit. Ashwati, Rashi madam,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you aware of Mudra loans?
No, sir.
These were the loans given by the present government before COVID
Okay.
to small people, Shishu, Kishore, Mudra. What would have happened to all those people? Major 25% have already become NPA.
My God.
There is government interference in all public sector banks. Our boards are not professional. Politicians are appointed on the boards because the concerns of the government are different. Raghuram Rajan, the celebrated economist, the ex-governor of RBI, has said that the Department of Financial Services in the Ministry of Finance must be abolished. Banks must be privatized. At least they should not interfere in the functioning of the banks, because when the government comes in without accountability. Nobody is responsible for the bad loans. Nobody is claiming the responsibility that on whose phone call that loan was made. I hope you recall that there was a member of parliament from Andhra Pradesh. He spread red chilies in the Lok Sabha. He is the promoter of Lenco Infratech power plants, borrowed around 40,000 crore rupees, not recoverable even 3,000 crore rupees today. But we also do commercial banking. Our shares are listed on the stock market. People see our net profit. People see our gross profit. People see our gross NPA. They see our level of net NPA. They say, how good bank is this? How bad bank is this? Let us decide on commercial principles. So what do? Banks in India are oscillating between social banking and commercial banking. This I already explained you, that when the 1990 crisis happened, we called it balance of payment crisis. We had foreign exchange of only 3 weeks in imports. We went to IMF for structural loans. We agreed to restructure our economy. We undertook reforms in the economic and financial sector. The biggest reform was that we accept the international accounting system, and that accounting system was NPA system. That accounting system was, if interest is not recovered, income will not be booked. If installment is not received, loan will become NPA. No interest will be charged in that. On the other hand, we reduced the CRR and SLR, so a lot of funds were available with the banks to give loans. And the last was legal reforms. I have already discussed you. Under legal reforms, first came DRT Act, then came SURFACE Act, and lastly has come IBC 2016. This we have already discussed, that how our credit grew after 91 and how our NPS grew after 1991. Aswiti,
Yes, sir.
just one fact. In 2015, Reserve Bank of India, under the leadership of Shri Rajan, directed the banks to take asset quality review. Reserve Bank of India inspectors came to all the banks because they apprehended banks were hiding the non-performing assets, that is bad loans. And since then, NPAs have increased by leaps and bounds. From 4.3 in 15 to 7.5, almost double in 16. To 130% 17, again 130% 18. 19 reduction is not on account of recovery. I told you it is more account of write-off. I presented you data of the Reserve Bank. Between 2017 and 19, even when IBC was in picture, the NPAs of the bank increased by 39%, 63%, 15%, 19%, 13%, 18%, 21%. Small bank, Indian Overseas Bank, reduced by only 0.33. Oriental Bank of Commerce, which is no more there, reduced by 5%. But majority of the banks increased the non-performing assets. Punjab Sind Bank by 36%. Punjab National Bank by 44%. What is this period? Between 17 and 19. This is the post-IBC period. Only one small thing in between. You might ask me a question, why loans go bad? This is a very detailed, exhaustive topic in itself. But generally, it could be due to genuine reasons. Sometimes a business fails. You develop a product is not accepted in the market. You developed a product to be sold at 100 rupees per piece. It is Chinese product is available at 50 rupees piece. People purchase Chinese product, they don't purchase your product. Your cost is very high. Your project was delayed. But there are also some willful default when they earn and they don't pay. There is also siphoning of funds. People transfer money abroad. There are frauds. People take loan against a property which does not exist. They take loan, invest in share market. There are disputes among the promoters. So there could be genuine reasons. There could be promoter-driven reasons. This is entirely a different concept. Accounts become NPA for varied reasons. On the eve of IBC 2016, this is the summary of the problems. Our economy was slowing down as a result of demonetization and implementation of GST. Our credit growth has already slowed down because जब NPA बढ़ते हैं, बैंक वाले डर जाते हैं, बैंक के हाथ टाइट हो जाते हैं, बैंक लोन देना बंद करना शुरू कर देता है. Our NPAs were very high, and our public sector banks were in loss, and other banks were in the low profitability zone. So this is the challenge before the banking industry. Again, we come back to IBC. Beautiful law. You know what is the best thing? Aswati, can you read 238?
Yes, sir. It says provisions of this code to override other laws. The provisions of this code shall have effect, notwithstanding anything inconsistent therewith, contained in any other law for the time being in force, or any other instrument having effect by virtue of any such law.
My legal friends will agree that this is the supreme law. When a law overrides all other laws. Later on, we realized that we committed a mistake. So we brought in limitation law once again. Because what people did, they brought the stale claims before the adjudicating authority. But before that, and still, section 238 is there. Provisions of this code to override all other laws. So if such a powerful law comes, one minute. Since it is stuck up, what do I do?
Sir, we can see the screen which says section 235.
Now, okay, fine. It has come.
Yeah, no.
So here comes a law which is so powerful. Here comes a law which overrides all other laws. Here comes a law which reduces the order of priority of the government dues below the secured creditors. The law overrides DRT Act, law overrides SURFACE Act, law overrides SICA, which is already repealed. Initially, it overrode even the Limitation Act. Now it has been brought back. Bankers were again very hopeful. But this law is not being implemented in toto. Only the provisions relating to certain aspects have been made applicable. the provisions relating to individuals other than the guarantors of the companies have not been implemented as yet. What are the key features of this law? From the debtor in possession, जिसको लोन दिया था, the unit always used to be in control of that person. Under this law, creditors are in the control of that, and you can say a doctor, an insolvency professional, who is called a resolution professional, is looking after the insolvency of the company. Time bound manner, 180 days, only one extension, maximum 270 days. There is also a fast track process, 90 days. Extendable only 45 days. So maximum 135 days. Voluntary fast track process, maximum 270 days. Normal insolvency. Clearly defined priority order, waterfall mechanism, how the assets will be distributed. If somebody has done something wrong with the corporate, those transactions can be investigated, the persons can be punished, and money can be ordered to be brought back. A regulator was established called IBBI, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, as an independent body to administer the governance of this law. Very rare. Information utilities as depositories of financial information. Now, this is the ecosystem of this law. NCLT is the adjudicating court. NCLAT is the appellate authority court. There is a regulator called IBBI. There is a company which has defaulted. It goes in the hands of the insolvency professional when the case is admitted. He is a member of a body which regulates his conduct. He cannot commit any misconduct. There is a company which keeps entire financial information in record, and there is a committee of creditors which guides the insolvency professional that how this company's insolvency is to be resolved. What is in resolution of insolvency? Nothing. All the offers from the people who are not connected with the company, who are resourceful persons, how much money they are able to pay to the existing stakeholders and take the charge of the company and run the company as a going concern in future. This is the resolution. There are registered valuers who will do the valuation of the assets. And the law is that the resolution value should not be less than the liquidation value. If it is less than that, company will go to the liquidation. Now, what is this ecosystem numerical strength? There is one company which is keeping financial record. There are three bodies which are who have got these insolvency professionals as their members. There is Chartered Accountants Institute, Cost Accountants Institute, and the Company Secretary Institute. These are the number of insolvency professionals, 3,816. These are the companies, not limited companies, but entities like partnership firms of the professionals which do this business. These are the valuers organizations. They are the individual valuers, and these are the firms of the valuers. So these people conduct this process under the watchful eyes of their respective regulator. Like resolution professional is first regulated by the insolvency professional agency. Valuer is regulated by the registered valuer organization. And everything is regulated by Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. It is the same. IBBI is the sectoral regulator. It is the main pillar of insolvency ecosystem. These are the agencies which are regulated by it. Nobody who is not a fit and proper person can become either insolvency professional or information utility or valuer organization. See, the law was passed in May, 28th of May. On 1st October 2016, IBBI was in force. And within 60 days, they created the infrastructure and the insolvency started. We have already seen how powerful is this law. Now, definitely IBC is a double-edged sword. It provides for the reorganization. It provides a rescue mechanism. You can say it is the company in ICU. Either the company would be declared dead or the company would be nursed back to health. If it is nursed back to health, it goes in the hands of the resolution applicant. If the company is declared as not revivable, then it would be declared that it is fit for liquidation, it should go into liquidation. But effort is made that the company should be reorganized as a going concern so that jobs are intact, so that stakeholders are intact, their rights are protected. Because if the company is closed, the assets will lose their value. But if at all the company goes into liquidation, this is the order of priority in which the assets of the company will be distributed. This is called waterfall mechanism. We'll come back to it in 5 minutes. Important is everything is time bound. I just gave a search, random search. 153 times the IBC code has got the word days. Everything is defined in number of days. If you see the regulations, it looks like a date diary. That means there is nothing wrong with the law. But if Videocon with claims of 71,000 crore is sold for 3,000 crore, law cannot put value in the company if there is no value in the company. Yes, another factor will definitely play. Is Indian market developed to handle so many insolvencies? Just like Supersede Act, I gave you the example of that in one city, if there are 3 defaulters, their assets can be easily sold. But if there are thousands of defaulters, there are no takers of their assets. I fear the same thing is likely to happen to the IBC. Now, this is one of the important processes of insolvency resolution of a corporate. It is called CIRP, in which a company is handled. A company makes a default, does not pay interest or installment. Its case is referred to adjudicating authority, that is NCLT, by whom? Either the bank or the person who has provided in goods or service or the company himself. The case would be either rejected or would be admitted. If it is rejected, it goes out. It has got a right to appeal to NCLT, but it cannot remain in NCLT. If it is admitted, 180 days moratorium is declared. Nobody can now hurt this company. Nobody can file suit against this company. Nobody can take any action against this company. This is again a Goshala of the companies, but only for 180 days. The period starts from the day it is admitted. One insolvency resolution professional is appointed. He is called interim resolution professional because he is not the final one. Final one will be approved by committee of creditors. Important. Power of the board of directors is suspended immediately. The day admitted, the existing board of directors goes out. Public announcement of CIRP is made that this company has been admitted by Honorable NCLT. It is now under insolvency resolution process. The interim resolution professional will call the claims. On the basis of claims, he will constitute the committee. He will allocate the voting right to the committee because everything is decided by the share of the creditor in the financing of the company. Somebody may have more right, somebody may have less right. It will depend what is the volume of the credit of that company, creditor. Once the credit of committee is appointed, committee of creditors it is called, it will confirm whether the same person will be the resolution professional or he needs to be changed. That is why it is called creditor driven process. Then the person who becomes the resolution professional, he may be the same person if there is no complaint against him, or maybe another person of the choice of the COC. He will run the company as a going concern again. Going concern means company is not in liquidation, assets will not be sold, company will be allowed to run, employees will get salary if there is money. It depends whether there is money or not. But he can even raise interim finance to run the company. He is required to run this company as a going concern. He ascertains the liquidation value, as I told you, because the resolution plan cannot be of an amount less than liquidation value. He invites plans, he examines the plans, he makes a summary of the plans, he confirms the plans are according to the law, he places them before the COC. 66% says yes. Plan is approved by NCLT, company goes in the hands of the new promoter, the resolution applicant, they say no, company goes into liquidation. So this is the CIRP process. This I already explained to you. Only thing is that from debtor in possession to creditor in control, most important thing, so far all laws had the debtor in control position, but now the creditors are in the command driving seat. Suppose the company goes into liquidation, what happens? When it goes to liquidation? When no plan is received. When the adjudicating authority rejects all the plans. When the resolution professional informs the court, sir, 66% of the COC has approved liquidation. They don't want to run this company. CD has contravened any approved plan, a plan which was approved in the past, but the company has defaulted. Company will go into liquidation. NCLT passes the order of liquidation. Resolution professional becomes the liquidator. Here is again a choice. If his conduct is not satisfactory, he will be replaced by another liquidator, or he would be allowed to control. But now, power of the board of directors, which was suspended earlier, now ceases to exist. There is nothing called board of directors. Now liquidator is the controller of the company in all manners. In CIRP, BOD remains. Only their powers are suspended. They cannot take any decision about the company. But in case of liquidation, they are simply outsiders. Liquidator will verify the claim. He will take control of the assets. All actionable claims, like money which can be recovered in future. He will form the liquidation estate. By a transparent process, he will dispose of the assets. Money recovered would be distributed among the stakeholders. Company is dissolved. ROC is informed. How the money is distributed? First of all, whatever is the cost incurred in the liquidation process is recovered. First charge. Second priority, two persons. All the banks, financial institutions, and all the workmen of the company only for 24 months. If somebody has not been paid for 5 years, only his 2-year salary is considered. Third priority, wage and unpaid dues of the employees other than workmen. You know the difference between workmen and employees. They are the workers of the factory, they are the employees of the office. Their salary is protected only for 12 months. There are some unsecured creditors, but they gave money to the company. They come in fourth priority. Fifth priority is the government dues. Can you believe it? Government dues, sales tax, income tax, GST, anything. Any dues payable to the government is not first priority, not second priority, not third priority, not fourth. It is the fifth priority. And that too along with debt owed to secured creditors unpaid after enforcement of security interest. जिन लोगों ने लिक्विडेशन में पार्टिसिपेट नहीं किया, those who wanted to sell their assets separately, those secured creditors for their unpaid dues will stand in queue along with the government. Sixth, remaining dues. Seventh, preference shareholders, and lastly, equity shareholders. So this is the liquidation process. Now immediately when this law came, 12 cases were referred to NCLT. These are called dirty dozen of RBI. You know, the whole country was very hopeful. RBI was very hopeful. Banks were very hopeful. Now our problems would be solved. Only 8 cases have been resolved so far. 4 are still continuing. In 2 cases, liquidation is continuing. In 2 cases, CIRP is continuing. And the recovery is as low as 14%. I'm sorry, recovery is as low as, 14%. Haircut. And maximum 63%, 76%, 85%. SR Steel, 85% recovery of the banks. Almost banks got their entire principal. So it depends what is the value in the asset today which is being put up for insolvency resolution. SR Steel plant was one of the best, not in India but in the world. Bhushan Steel plant was very good. It has been purchased by Tata Steel. So banks got 63%, only 36% haircut. Bhushan Power, reasonable. Banks got 41%. But there are cases in which bank got only 17%. 83% is concession. None of the case was resolved within 180 days. None of the cases was resolved within 270 days. But being a banker, I do not mind, honestly speaking. I do not mind even if it is late, but banks, if they get their money back. This is another picture which shows what is the realization by financial creditors. It is as low as 0.3%. 0.3%. You gave 1 rupee to the company, you got 3 paisa. But there is also 88%. So it depends what is the value of the asset, the corporate whose insolvency is being resolved. One positive aspect of this law is that the promoters are now in the fear of losing control of their company. So they are coming to the banks to settle the issues. So this is the indirect contribution of the insolvency process. $17,305 applications for initiation of insolvency proceedings against the defaulting borrowers with the default of 5.3 lakh crore were resolved even before their admission. When they were taken to the NCLT, they went to banks, settled their matters. So that is definitely another way of recovering. During COVID, implementation of the law was suspended for 1 year. And if the default is due to COVID, case can never be taken to NCLT. The minimum limit was increased to 1 crore. It was in law 1 lakh. It was increased to 1 crore so that small cases are spared the fury of the law. What is the performance? Till 30th of September, 4,708 cases have been admitted. 701 cases have been closed. Of this, closed by withdrawal under 520 or 527, closed by resolution 421, closed by liquidation 1419, but 1640 cases are still pending. And in 1200 cases, which is more than 75%, it is more than 270 days. So as far as the timeline is concerned, law is losing its sheen. As a banker, I am patient, I don't mind, as long as my recoveries can come. This is only the addition of the cases before NCLT. Every year, number was increasing, but in 2021, due to pandemic, existing cases were resolved and new cases were not brought in much. In the 421 cases which have been, these cases closed by resolution of the insolvency, minimum it took 428 days. If you see technically, law is losing its sheen. As a practical banker, I think it is not a big deal. But yes, the low amount of realization is definitely a big deal. This is a frightening scenario. Companies ordered for liquidation 1,419 out of the 1840 referred to NCLT. Aggregate claim 15,32,000. Liquidation value only 199. Asset realization only 13.04%. And in liquidated companies only 7%. Can you believe it? Assets are available only for 7.04% in the liquidated companies. Average time is being taken 375 days for liquidation, 435 days for resolution. We Indians are very patient. Time is okay, no problem. Let my money come back. $456 cases are continuing for more than 2 years. 333 cases for more than 1 year. 80 cases for more than 270. So in total, around 800 plus cases for more than 270 days. I already discussed that there is a behavioral change in the promoters due to this law. When the default is imminent, when the notice is received, when the application is filed or case is admitted, they run to the creditor to settle the matter. And that is a positive point. What is frightening? 13,000 cases are pending. This is the observation of the Parliamentary Standing Committee. And 71% have been pending for more than 180 days. 13,170 insolvency cases involving claims of 9,20,000 crore. 9,20,000 crore claim. This is the observation of the Parliamentary Standing Committee headed by Sri Jayant Sinha. One interesting thing I want to discuss with you. Last point. Ajit Singh ji is there? Ajit Singh ji.
Yes, sir. Very much.
What is law of incorporation? What is the case Solomon and Solomon and Company? A company is different from its promoter. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
UP has passed a law in December 2021. If a company has taken loan from banks, B company has taken loan from some other banks. If a company has not paid dues of the farmers, the government will take assets of the B company and will pay the assets of the A company. Is it okay?
On paper,
What
it
happens?
seems okay, sir.
What is the law of incorporation? Each company is a separate legal entity. Each company belongs to its respective creditors. They have got different charges. So what happens to the waterfall mechanism of IBC provided under section 53? Banks feel this will kill IBC. So if our legislature shows this much insensitivity, law is made by bureaucracy, by resourceful advocates. How can they forget these principles? लास्ट में पार्टिंग शॉट. सारी बात का मतलब क्या है? दिस इज द पोजीशन बैंक वाइज बिटवीन 14 and 21. बैंक ऑफ बड़ौदा 15,000 से 46,000, बैंक ऑफ इंडिया 11,000 से 40,000, बैंक ऑफ महाराष्ट्र 3,000 से 6,000, कैनरा बैंक 12,000 से 52,000, सेंट्रल बैंक 11,000 से 27,000, इंडियन बैंक 12,000 से 36,000, इंडियन ओवरसीज 8,000 से 13,000, पंजाब सिंध बैंक 3,000 से 9,000, पंजाब नेशनल बैंक 32,000 से 98,000, स्टेट बैंक ऑफ इंडिया 74,000 to 1,20,000, यूको बैंक 5,982,000 crores, 59,820 crores, so it goes to 10,182. So everywhere either it has doubled or tripled or 4 times NPS. So what is the conclusion? DRT may give banks a decree. Money will come when the executions happen. SRM may give possession of the assets. Money will come back when the underlying asset is disposed of and money is realized. Bank can refer the case to NCLT, but they will recover only what is the value of it, if at all they recover. There is still a debate on the success of IBC. It is too early to judge. Credit should be given to the government to pass this law. Credit must be given to IBPI to create the infrastructure and ecosystem. In the meantime, the bank shall wait to have the capacity to absorb the loss. Silently, अश्वती हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? हम बैंक लोग अपने आप को स्टेरॉइड देके अपनी कैपेसिटी पैदा कर रहे हैं so that we can write off all these loans one day. फिर रिकवर हो गया तो हो गया, नहीं हुआ तो नहीं हुआ, कोई बात नहीं. Finance Minister in the budget has promised that there would be amendment in IBC to make it more effective. Thank you very much. Sorry, I have overshot my time. I am really sorry, but there were actually 2 topics within that, and I am open to any question, debate, anything. Thank you very much.
It was expected, sir. There is no surprise. Banker generally takes longer time.
Sir, it's an honor and proud moment for all of us to attend your session. It's a wonderful and very full knowledgeable session, sir. Sir, there is a
कोमल
one
मैडम,
question from my
हाँ
side.
जी, हाँ जी सर.
मैं एक बात बताऊं आपको.
हाँ जी.
हम बैंक वालों को ना इकट्ठा करने की आदत होती है. हम डिपॉजिट भी इकट्ठा कर लेते हैं, हम लोन भी इकट्ठा कर लेते हैं, लेकिन हमें संभालना नहीं आता. तो हम लोग मटेरियल इकट्ठा
तभी मैं आपसे तभी पहला क्वेश्चन यही पूछने वाली हूँ. This recent ABG shipyard limited case.
Yes.
28 banks, and they have the fraud money is 22,842 crores.
Very good.
Should
I tell you, madam?
No. But the thing is, the company had gone into liquidation also, and it became non-performing in 2013, and FIR is lodged now. So why this, you can say the discrepancy on the part of the people who were responsible?
You are very right, madam. You are excellent question you have asked. This is a general complaint against the bankers, that the bankers are very late in reporting the frauds, and when they report the fraud, the thief is already gone. He has gone either abroad or he is not available. But this is a part of the system. I tell you how it happens.
No, but then but the banks are then not responsible. See,
Komal madam, don't be so harsh. I have understood your question. Now I'll answer it. Ashwati comes to me and says, sir, take this plot. It is worth 1 crore rupees. Give me 40 lakh rupees. I do a reasonable due diligence. I give her a loan. She does not pay back. I wait for it. After 1 year, I give a notice under Supersede Act. I go to take possession of the plot. I find 6 other banks have put up their, notice over there. Nature of the fraud is such. I tell you how. Even now I say ABG shipyard is not full amount, is not a fraud. See, there is a beautiful shipyard. There are ships over there. But what happens? What is the law? Law is that
how much they can recover, as you you have shown us. In some cases, the assets are not there. I mean, even if the assets are not there, they are not worth the amount which they have, taken.
Komal madam, you have raised a wonderful question. Who will purchase a shipyard? Tell me.
Yes.
How many people have got the capacity to purchase a power plant?
Yes.
How many people have got a capacity to purchase an unfinished road? Banks finance things which were beyond their control to handle. Now, definition of fraud, one thing I want to say. Fraud has got a definition. If suppose he has sent 500 crore rupees through Hawala abroad, the whole amount will be treated as a fraud. But the whole amount is not a fraud. It is the legal definition that if he has disposed of the property, if he has siphoned off the funds, if he has not used the money for the purpose it was given, it will be treated as fraud. But actually, shipyard is there, the business is there, but it is not worth that amount which we have financed. And secondly, who will purchase it?
No, but the banks are very particular in the case of small customers. The security, everything. But when the big customers are there, then they always make mistakes regarding the assets, regarding the running of the business. So somewhere I think what you talked about, the interference, is it that?
कोमल मैडम,
Yes.
कोमल मैडम, आप बहुत विद्वान हैं.
नहीं, मैं नहीं हूं, मैं तो पूछना चाहती हूँ आपसे.
समर्थ को नहीं दोष गुसाई. Powerful people, they commit no mistake. I have been watching you and Aswati have been asking questions which can be said of the, influenced by human rights considerations, by principles of equality. You are right. I ask you one question. You answer me. You are an advocate. What big issue is removal of a director from a company? It's a very small issue for me. If you remove one director from a company, it is not a big issue. Supreme Court of India is leaving all cases aside and deciding that course of Tata Steel, that why Cyrus Mistry was removed from the directorship. They already removed, decided that case once. He filed an appeal review petition. Supreme Court is again taking up that case for, adjudication. And you tell me now, is it such an important case? As you rightly pointed out in earlier sessions, there are so many under trials. There are so many murder convicts waiting on their appeal for years and years. So there is definitely a bias in our system in favor of rich and powerful. Definitely there.
And then the public sector banks, they start giving haircuts as high as 94%.
So what do I do, madam? I finance a power plant. Will you go in Jharkhand to purchase the power plant? Maoist area. No offers are received.
So somewhere there is lacuna in the system,
You are very right, because we should not do phone banking.
Yes.
Banker should be competent.
Yes.
Banker should not take that much risk which he cannot bear. No doubt about it. You are very right. Your questions are very valid. This is the result of phone banking. Yes. I did not want to use that word.
Because the banks had over rupees 10 lakh crore bad loans in 21.
And in 2007, this issue was being discussed in our parliament. That time, Mr. Chidambaram was the minister. He said, our economy is decoupled from the world economy. The global financial crisis will have no effect on us. But when there was actual effect, he said, sorry, we are coupled to some extent. In our country, everything becomes political.
Because they can easily write off the huge loans. In 21 also they had written off 1.53 lakhs loans. But if a small even loan is there, even the farmer, so many farmers have committed suicide because of this, that they could not repay the loan. Then they are very particular.
That is what in the last I told Aswati, legal field में जो हो रहा है होने दीजिए. Bankers are silently taking steroids and developing a capacity to, take this pill. Because they have to ultimately, develop the provisions to that level that their NPS come down. Only by providing for it, not by recovering it. Whatever then we will recover, we will add to our profit. This is in nutshell the banking.
Thank you so much, sir. Akarshita?
Thank you so much, sir. So there are a few questions which students have asked. With your permission, can I read the question?
Most welcome, madam.
Yes, sir. So one.
Ashita ma'am, I have one question. Can you please allow me?
Yes, sure, ma'am. Sure.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
It is an honor and proud moment for all of us to attend your lecture. It's a wonderful and a very knowledgeable session, sir.
You are too generous, madam.
You said that when we are increasing credits, that increase the GDP, that is increasing the economy. But on the same side, when we are increasing the credit, the NPA of the bank is also increasing.
No doubt.
So how we can create the balance between these two factors? Because one is our economic growth and one is the bank position. It's create imbalance.
Rashi madam, beautiful question. That is the banking. That balance is banking. Take as much risk as you can bear. Take only that much risk which your balance sheet allows
But when
you
you
to take.
increasing the provisions, that is a reserve for the bad debts, bad loans. But when you increasing
Yes.
the provisions, that reserve is used for the investment purpose. But for the bank, for the safe side, they are increasing the provisions. Indirectly, they are reducing the investment options. That is
They have
also
to.
affect the bank performance.
No, you are talking something very dangerous. If I use the provision also for further credit, then I will go deeper down in the well. प्रोविजन आई टू की देखिए, आपको घर में जो विपत्ति होती है उसके लिए अलग से पैसा रखना पड़ता है, उस पैसे को आप छुएंगे नहीं। अगर उसको फिर क्रेडिट दे देंगे तो फिर हरतेज जी लेकर भाग जाएंगे, इनकी फैक्ट्री डूब जाएगी। इनकी तो डूब गई, आपको डुबो दिया इन्होंने। So provision are not used for further credit.
Yes, sir. But in the last 2 years, the stock market is almost double. So definitely, bank shares price is also in double and triple in last 2 years. In
You are
COVID period.
no. You are very right. COVID, you forget COVID, but now the good banks are having good value of their share, like State Bank of India.
Yes.
Since it is a strong bank, so its share is being quoted at 500 plus. Poor bank like Punjab Sind Bank, UCO Bank, Bank of Maharashtra, Central Bank of India, they are in the bottom, and banks like Bank of Baroda, Canara Bank are in the middle.
But on the other side, sir, you said ki some development bank like IDBI and some, they are giving funding for the infrastructure development, more in the development of the economy. But bank position is worse day by day because of this NPA. So,
Excellent question you have asked. Now listen carefully, madam. Developmental financial institutions draw their strength from budgetary allocation. Their sources of funds are multilateral international institutions. Banks function on the basis of deposits taken from the public. So if I lose money, I will not be able to pay back my depositors.
but we are withdrawing deposit from the bank, sir, because bank is giving very low interest right now and it's very high interest. We are starting
Yeah.
investing that fund FD in the investment in some property and somewhere else. So
I can give you only one suggestion. Only 2 months back, the governor RBI has advised the depositors not to change rate of interest. You will lose your money there rather than here. Don't change rate of interest.
Okay. Okay, Kashira, thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. So, sir, there is one question from a student. He has written that is it because of the corrupt practices of the bank managers who lent loans without careful and sincere investigation that the NPAs are increasing?
The possibility cannot be denied. Yes, some percentage, this is one of the causes, but it is not the major cause. It is a cause. I do not deny the individual culpability. I do not deny that there is no corruption. There is corruption, but it is not the major factor in creation of NPA. NPA are created first of all because of the economic conditions, secondly because of the promoters, and thirdly because of the bankers.
Thank you, sir. There's one more question from Anubha Dwivedi.
उनको वहां बिठा दें।
Yes, when banks have so much bad loans, then why every banks keep forcing to distribute loans to the public by their employers?
How do I earn income?
Yeah.
How do I pay back to my depositors? See, that is the primary consideration. I cannot repent only that what wrong I have done. I have to remain in business, earn more money. Otherwise, there would be standstill. So banks always try to give fresh loan, but they be more careful than they were in the past.
Yes, sir. Okay, so there's one more question from a student. What are the circumstances under which central government may supersede the board, the IBC?
See, there are two categories. One are government promoted banks like public sector banks, and others are private sector banks. In case of private sector banks, Reserve Bank of India as a regulator has got power to supersede the board of directors. In case of public sector banks, Reserve Bank does not have that power. You have raised a very good question. In fact, Rajan has been raising this issue that in case of public sector banks also, RBI should be given power to take action against the board of directors. In case of public sector banks, the board is appointed by the government, that is the Ministry of Finance. That is why they are able to sometimes put social workers. I have nothing against social workers, but they don't understand banking. They don't take an objection when a loan of so much amount comes before them. So the board of public sector is not superseded by RBI, but it can be changed any time by the government of India because they are the owner, they are the promoter.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Hartej sir has raised a hand. Hartej sir, you can ask the question.
He will ask a difficult question because he is looking very serious.
No, sir. No, sir. I just wanted to know what is your opinion as a banker about the bad loans bank that is sort of proposed.
Hartej, you have asked a beautiful question. You have asked a really beautiful question. I am not praising you out of formality. We as a nation, we as a society, we as a legislature don't want to face the issues head on. We postpone the issue. This, tell me one thing. I will transfer my loan to, say, bad bank. How will he recover?
Yes,
ultimately, he will also go to NCLT. He will
Yes.
go to NCLT. Only difference is that instead of Punjab Sind Bank, bad bank will go to NCLT. Instead of Punjab Sind Bank, NCLT will take charge of the assets. The law is the same for them. Mechanism is same for them. Value of the asset. Acha, will bad bank be able to put recovery in Videocon? What Komal madam raised this issue. What bad bank will be able to raise the value of ABG shipyard? No. So we are only passing the buck to camouflage the issue. I'm sorry to say.
Yes, sir. That is what I also thinking.
You are right. You are right. Absolutely right. You are absolutely right.
Thank you, sir.
So last question, which Parinita ma'am
Yes.
really wanted to ask,
Yes.
is cross-border insolvency applicable in India?
No, they are going to notify it very soon. They are preparing the system. They already made rules. They have not notified as yet. They are having webinars, seminars, because IBBI is a very proactive regulator. They are developing the capacity, and cross-border insolvency will be definitely notified very soon. Group insolvency would be definitely notified very soon. But individual insolvency, I do not think will be notified very soon because we don't have infrastructure to handle insolvency of individuals. Because there may be 1 crore individual insolvents. When we can't handle the insolvency of the corporates, which are definitely much smaller in number, how can we handle the insolvency of individual persons? So that is my take.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. If any other person has any query, you can ask, or then otherwise we can end the session. Okay, ma'am. So now I formally request Professor Dr. Komal Oricha, ma'am, to propose the vote of thanks for sir.
Thank you so much, Akashita. Extremely grateful to you, sir. No,
You gave me the
because
opportunity. You
I
gave me the
remember when,
opportunity.
yes, I gave you the opportunity because I had faith in you. So in the beginning, you said, I do not know whether the session will be fruitful or not. I assure you the session has been very, very fruitful.
Thank you very much.
In the beginning only you said that healthy banks is required if the economy of the country has to be strong, if the growth rate has to be enhanced. But when you joined the bank, this recovery thing was nothing. It was not at all significant. But how it has become so important over the years, and what we started with SICA and then SurfaceC Act, in between you mentioned the DRT also, now IBC 2016, but still we do not see a very bright picture.
No doubt.
And you say you mentioned that banking is a fragile business. No, one
Very
has
fragile.
to do it very intelligently, whether it is lending, whether it is the business, how they invest, how they give the loans, how much interest they are taking. So somewhere I think there is this kind of lacuna is there in the system only, because banks also work according to the regulating acts and all. So somewhere I think the system itself is lacking. Although we have
100%.
wonderful legislations, you mentioned this IBC, and you said it is a supreme law. And everyone was looking forward to it because we all were in so much financial stress. And you said it was mainly not debtor in possession, it was creditor in control.
Yes.
Ultimately, what slide you showed us in the end, the picture is still very depressing.
Yes, it is.
And you said the banks are losing their sheen. So somewhere, so somewhere I think we need amendment somewhere, because if we have to make this the supreme law, what you just mentioned in the UP Sugarcane Amendment Act,
Yes.
so we were thinking that everything will be time bound. That also is slipping out of our hands,
It is.
So I think whatever deliberations we had today in this session, somewhere the system has to be revamped.
You are absolutely right. I just want to say one thing. You may be shocked, all of you. Partly you people are paying for my misdeeds. How? If the banks were not in such a bad shape, you might be getting 6.5% on your FDR, what Rashi madam was talking. Now we are subsidizing my loans, bad loans, with the depositors' rate of interest actually. Today inflation rate is higher and rate of interest to depositor is lower. So society has to take a holistic view. We should not treat that bank as an outsider and it is a cow only to be milked. It is my cow. I have to keep it healthy so that it continues to give benefits to me for a long time.
No, I think somewhere, of course, we are very conscious citizens. So we are very much interested in the growth of the economy of our country. But we have limitations.
No doubt. No, I said you are being made to pay for, banks' misdeeds.
Yeah,
you are
because
being made to pay for the bad loans.
I think there is a dire need of, some amendments in the IBC code also, this 2016, because
That is what
if
the
the
FMS shows.
insolvency cases have increased, if the status of the distressed assets is also, appalling. So somewhere, I think amendments are required, and definitely today we have learned a lot about banking, and even the small definitions you explained very well. So thank you so much for this wonderful session.
I'm obliged. Thank you.
I am from bankers family, but today was
I know.
very, very enlightening session for me also. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And thanks to Akarshita ma'am also, and to all the participants who attended the session and patiently heard sir's wonderful lecture. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.